So good morning, good afternoon, depending from where you are connected. It's a real pleasure for me to welcome you all to this webinar on green jobs in biogas. Let me introduce myself. My name is Maria Michela Morese, the Executive Secretary of the Global Bioenergy Partnership, which is an international initiative very much focused on bioenergy, on the sustainable development of bioenergy, which secretariat is based in FAO, United Nations in Rome headquarters. In the context of the activities of the Global Bioenergy Partnership, and in particular of the activity group specifically focused on biogas, we have thought to organize this webinar to focus on the specific opportunities that biogas, specifically the value chain of biogas, offer in terms of green jobs. In general, we know that modern bioenergy has the potential to aid in the achievement of the SDGs when managed in a sustainable manner. We know that bioenergy is a necessary component of low carbon development strategies and will be crucial also to ensure energy for all, which is one of the objectives that we have also connected to the SDGs. We know that bioenergy makes up part of the broader bioeconomy, and it's very important the role also that byproducts could play in terms of bioeconomy approach context. In all these contexts, in all this modern bioenergy approach, the biogas in particular is very positive in the sense that could provide flexible modern bioenergy services for various uses, power generation, transport, heat and cooling, or cooking. And in this context, biogas could provide also very important green job opportunities. And this is very much connected to sustainability. So this is very much connected to all the important aspects that we have to look at when we do an assessment, a sustainability assessment of entire bioenergy value chain. And this is exactly the focus where the Global Bioenergy Partnership has been focusing in the last 15 years of activities on how to best implement sustainability assessment, and of course within which green jobs is one of the important aspects. We have today the pleasure to have a couple of presentations of two case studies from different regions, one from Mexico and the other one from Sub-Saharan Africa. So it's also a good opportunity not only to share lessons learned and good experiences, but also to learn across regions, which is extremely important because some specific case that could be applicable in one region could also be applicable to other circumstances. So it's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker presenting on biogas for entrepreneurship and livelihood diversification in Latin America, Edwin Zelaya from Arquea, Mexico. Edwin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to share my presentation. Please let me know when you see it full screen.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, biogas for entrepreneurship and livelihood diversification in Latin America. Biogas is a technology that can be used principally for waste management. A biogas digester is an airtight container where organic matter in the presence of bacteria and archaeas is transformed into biogas and fertilizer. The biogas is a mix of gases in which methane is the principal one, and also it contains CO2. This biogas is a source of renewable energy that can be used for heating, mechanic energy, or electricity production. In that case, the use and transformation of methane reduce greenhouse gas emissions to the atmosphere. Also, at the end of the process, the anaerobic process that takes place in the digestion chamber of the biogas digester, it is to obtain fertilizer, a fertilizer that contains minerals available for the plant's nutrition. In this particular case of this technology, we can have social, economic, and environmental benefits. Throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, there are different models of biogas digesters that are being used. We have concrete biogas digester models like the Chinese model that is also named fixed dome, and the floating dome, also known as Indian model. But the most used model of biogas digester in Latin America is the flexible tubular small-scale biogas, because of its low cost and low technical skills for fabrication and installation. However, this technology hasn't been diffused enough along the rural communities of the continent, because most of the times the diffusion of technology process hasn't been well implemented. We have to consider the diffusion of innovation model that for obtaining the confirmation of the adoption of technology, we have to go through several steps. We have to start from knowing the previous conditions, the decision maker characteristics, and what are the perceived characteristics of the innovations from the stakeholders in order to persuade the decision makers to adopt and continue adopting the technology. This implementation gives the confirmation, and these processes improve through the communication channels that usually is made by the institutions or NGOs, for example. Nevertheless, there are several aspects that are being ignored or hasn't been implemented yet in the projects or biogas programs throughout this region. For example, technical, socioeconomic, and cultural aspects that hasn't been taken into account from the previous conditions has led to the failure of the technology. Also, the financial aspect is a barrier, one of the principal barriers that users face in order to access the technology. Also, in the functioning of the technology, technical aspects are really crucial and critical for the continuum of the functioning of this technology. And all these processes, all these steps of the process has to be made and accompanied by institutional governments, NGOs, private companies, and entrepreneurs. So in this map of the actors that are involved in the diffusion models, we can identify some areas of opportunities where entrepreneurs can focus and create some green jobs, because they are related to environmental benefits. We have to articulate the work of different actors in the community level. For example, the public sector, private sector, farmers, and academia. In the private sector, there are some aspects that has to be improved in order to obtain this biogas technology diffusion. And also, if we identify these aspects that are being missed by the diffusion program or diffusion process, we can identify in which areas we can create some opportunities. For example, the supply chain, financial access, manufacturing, installation, maintenance, training, and marketing are opportunities for local technology providers, professional services, and knowledge economy. That is, knowledge economy is part of the things that we are doing in Archaea, for example. In the other actor, the farmers, when use biogas technology, they become energy suppliers. They produce their own fertilizer and improve the crop production. In this case, valorizing waste is a very important income for the family of the farmers and also for the communities. They can improve the yields of the crops and the family income. Also, but not less important, they minimize the pollution of the production process of their farms. And another aspect, very important, is the women's role in the diffusion of this technology, because most of the time they are the principal users of this technology, and we have to take into account in order to convert in their jobs that they are doing in their homes, like housekeepers, for example. Most of them in the rural communities take care of the kids and cook food for the family. So throughout the biogas digester, we can convert their role into a green job, unless nevertheless it is not a paid job most of the cases. Another actor that has to be involved in this process is the academia, generating specialized services, creating networking. Like, for example, in Latin America, we have the Red BioLab. Red BioLab is the Latin America and the Caribbean biogas network, where we are sharing knowledge and experiences and promoting biogas technology. And this can be converted into a knowledge economy in the while we are teaching courses, workshops, and webinars, for example. And also in the academia, like is the case of Archaea, is the place where startups begin to function. And finally, but not less important, there is the public sector, where biogas must be considered as public policy in order to get a lot of diffusion of this technology and its benefits throughout the communities. Okay. In the case of Latin America, as I was speaking before of the Red BioLab, this is Latin America and the Caribbean Biogas Network, we promote the biogas technology in order to make a biogas digester the center of the waste management of production systems in rural communities, and also in all in a way to valorize the wastes generated. We are working throughout the Latin American continent. Archaea is in Nicaragua, working specifically in Oaxaca, Mexico, and we are focused on small-scale digesters and promoting the use of these digesters in the mezcal industry. And that is the case I'm going to talk about right now. The biogas potential of the mezcal industry in Mexico. Mezcal is an alcoholic beverage similar to tequila that is obtained from agave plants. And it is a very contaminating activity, although it has several economic and social good impacts. For example, every year there are produced around 6 million liters of mezcal, but for every liter of mezcal, there are produced 10 to 12 liters of vinasses. Vinasses is a high organic matter content waste that is polluting soils and water streams. And about 80% of this organic waste is discarded with no treatment and not valorization into soil and water streams. So there is an opportunity there in which we are promoting the use of biogas technology to reduce contamination and reduce pollution and obtain some other benefits like biogas and fertilizer. I'm going to try if I can reproduce this video. Okay. This is an example of how we are producing biogas from this organic waste. This is the liquid waste named vinasa in Spanish, vinasses, that has high organic matter content. And usually they are produced at the end of the mezcal production process, at the end of the distillation process, and discarded into the environment. So what we are doing here is to take this waste and put it into the digester, flexible, small-scale digester, and using the biogas for cooking right now, because it is a low-scale, small-scale production system. And also we are using the digestate or the output of the digester as a fertilizer in fertigations in agave, in the same crop that is being used for the mezcal production. This another video is an example of the application of fertilizer that has been obtained from the anaerobic digestion process at the end of the biogas production. So we are recirculating the nutrients that primarily has been produced or kept into the agave plants, then transformed into mezcal, and the waste is being put into the digester and used for biogas production and for this fertilizer. For the time being, we are evaluating the digestate as fertilizer in agave plant nursery. We have made an analysis of the cost and savings for every 1,000 liters of fertigation of agave plantation when using raw waste and digestate. For example, raw waste is vinasses and digestate is the fertilizer. So we compare the cost, and we saw that we can save 80%. This is the orange line. We can save the 80% of the cost related to fertigation of agave. So we have mapped the mezcal elaboration process, and that is what we are promoting for the time being. The use of these biogas plants in the mezcal factories in order not just to produce the biogas and the fertilizer, but for promoting the sustainability of the whole value chain of the mezcal and agave plantations. So that's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Edwin, so much for for sharing these good practice. It's very interesting to see also how in some communities, you know, also at a very small scale, these kind of applications are very suitable, applicable, and make good results in terms of opportunities. Also, in the day-to-day activities, of course, and also to see also a group of people involved. It was nice to see also the pictures of the group of people that was involved in terms of the creation of new jobs opportunities. Thank you so much. We now go into a different region, Sub-Saharan Africa, with Florent Eyeye. Florent is a colleague from GIZ, Kenya, but former colleague of us in FAO. So we are particularly pleased to welcome Florent with us in this webinar. And he will give a presentation on creating sustainable biodigester markets in Sub-Saharan Africa. Florent, over to you.
Thank you very much, Michaela. So again, I will also share my screen so you can all be able to see the presentation. Yeah, as you were saying, it's a pleasure to be there and to see different and all colleagues of mine also in the participant list. So yeah, I'm gonna just present a new project that we are managing as Jill said. So it's based in Kenya, and then I will present a small study on the like number of jobs and the type of biodigester companies that exist in Kenya, and you will see some of them are very similar to the one in Mexico. So so the project is called the African Biodigester Component, and I am the manager of this project for Kenya, but the project is also in Burkina Faso, Uganda, Mali, and Niger, so beyond Kenya. It's co-financed by DIGIS, so the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Danida from Denmark. So for Kenya, it's implemented by a consortium composed of GIZ and SNV, and we work in close partnership with the African Bioenergy Partnership Limited, which is the ex-Kenya Biogas program, so KBP. So for those of you who know KBP, it's the kind of a similar organization that took over from KBP. The objective of the project is to achieve a sustainable, stable, and growing market for biodigesters, using a market-based approach to trigger demand, promote the supply of existing and high-quality technologies and services, and improve the enabling environment. So it's a project that is made in partnership with NDEV. So NDEV, it's energizing development. It's a partnership that promotes energy access, so electricity and cooking, through market-based approach. So you would see a lot of these aspects in the presentation. Just for the ecosystem for the implementation, that's so as GIZ, SNV, and ABPL, we are the lead implementer, but we also have different organizations that are supporting our objective that I will present afterwards. So we have an energy enterprise coach that is supporting biodigester companies to improve their processes, marketing, etc. We have an organic fertilizer valorization implementer. So and again, the previous presentation showed it straight away. That's we think of biogas, but I think there's a lot to be done on the fertilizer valorization, and I think that's a very important part. So this one is it's a Dutch research center called the Biomass Research Center, DIPCOP and SNV. Then we have access to finance. So how banks, so financial institutions and microfinance institutions can be supported to help clients to help their clients to have access to finance for buying biodigesters. We have a gender mainstreaming implementer, Energia, that is helping us to mainstream genders throughout our activities, and to make sure men and women benefit equally from the project. And then the last one is a bit special, is the independent verification agent. So it's linked to our result-based financing facility that I will just explain afterwards. I think that's yeah, at some point I will explain it. So we have a lot of different indicators, but let's say the two main one are to move the market from what we call the pioneering phase to the expansion phase. So the little graph that you can see below on the slide is the energy access market scorecard. So it's an NDEV developed tool to see where we kind of evaluate where we stand on the markets for energy products. And the second main objective is to support the installation of 20,000 domestic biodigesters and 250 commercial biodigesters. So let's say the domestic is the one you can have at home from zero. I mean, there's no zero model, but 0 to, let's say, 50, most probably 20 cubic meter, and then the rest is 20 cubic meter up to 100 cubic meter. So it's more for farms that are already in a commercial phase. And again, I will explain this afterwards. The main instrument that we have is called the result-based finance facility. So we pay incentives to companies based on the number of biodigesters that they install. So this one is only for the small scale or the domestic market segment. So the idea is that every company has some kind of quota that they need to reach, and then it will trigger a different type of incentive. So we have the basic sale incentive. So all the price are in euro. So the basic sale incentive, you install biodigester, we provide an incentive to you as a company after verification, and that's where the independent verification agent comes in. So the IVA. We have a sales target bonus. So if you tell us you will sell 500 biodigesters and you meet your objectives, you will get this bonus. If you meet only 250, you will get half of this bonus. The after sale rating bonus is linked to the client satisfaction. So whenever you install a biodigester as a company, again, you will receive a call from the verification agent, and through different questions, they will rate your after sale services as a company. I mean, this one is really to ensure quality of installations, especially in the domestic sector. And the last one is double compost speed bonus. So to make sure that clients supported by companies install the double compost pit, so then they can really benefit from all the products of the biodigester. So the biofertilizer that you can have after the digestion process. We also have like a medium scale segment support. So for the moment, we are having a study to evaluate what are the best financial mechanism, because the issues here are a bit different. So these commercial farms, they can afford the payment, but the issue is more on having a partial risk cover or like some kind of financing guarantee for the biodigester company, rather than supporting lower cost of the biodigester. So this we are evaluating what sort of instrument is the best placed. As I said earlier, we have so that's the main instrument is the RBF. Then we have supply side intervention. So we have business development support for companies, and also training for microfinance and finance institution on biodigestion. Like, what is biodigestion? What sort of benefit, and of course economic benefit, the potential clients could get from the biodigesters, and another small activity is to support the local prefabricated production, because all of these prefabricated biodigesters, so the one that you can see on the picture, they're imported from China, from India, and of course the biggest company in Kenya is a Mexican company, so also imported from Mexico, now from India. So there's some issues there to kind of localize the production value chain of this prefabricated biodigesters. Again, we'll have a big awareness raising strategy managed by ABPL and SNV, and different strategy to really support the uptake of the biodigesters by new clients, to increase the biodigester utilization. So that's mostly in the small sector, and to boost the biogas valorization for the medium sector, because what we have seen so far, the medium scale biodigester is a bit like what's happening in Mexico. So it's to support or to try to solve a problem mostly linked to livestock farming. So like dairy cows that are producing a lot of manure, and the biogas is not so much valorized in this segment. And we'll have a biogas valorization challenge. So again, that's for the medium scale segment to have like an annual prize for the best valorization ID. So being like agricultural machinery or electricity production or even gas bottling and all the challenges that are related to it. So we'll work on that also. And of course, the last part is the enabling environment. So SNV is in charge of this part. So to support the government to include biodigesters, of course, at national level, but at the county level. So in the different counties of Kenya. We'll also have a corporate social responsibility strategy. So to make sure that these companies that export a lot of products, especially in Europe, would also adopt biodigestion and also benefit from it, and also market this as a good practice. So that would be something we'll work on. And of course, there will be activities around standardization. So for the biodigester, but also for the bioslurry and all the derived products. We'll also work, of course, with our colleagues in Uganda and have two studies. So one that we'll do as GIZ in Somalia, and another one that will be done by SNV for South Sudan, to kind of see if there is a potential market to develop biodigester activities in these two countries. Okay, so now, so that was the project, and now the more interesting part is the green job. So I think it's a pleasure to see Daniele and Jongha in the attendance, because especially Daniele has worked on very interesting study. It's a handbook for estimating green jobs in bioenergy in Argentina, and I'm just trying to present it here. What is the definition of a green job? Of course, I'm not specialist on green jobs, so I will let it there. But basically, it's like it should be from an environmental sector, and it should be decent. There are, of course, many more categories, but it's just to give you a small example and how we could see this being categorized for this project. One of the first activities that we started is to have an inventory of biodigester companies in Kenya. So we've done this inventory, and the data that I'm showing you is still being analyzed, but I think we're quite confident on the picture that we have. So we've done this analysis. It will be an annual analysis for the next few years, but we've done it also to structure our result-based finance facility, our RBF. So far, we've contacted 70 companies, and I think we had around like 40 answers. We have an estimation that 140 persons or companies have some experience with biodigester in Kenya. So it's very difficult to see this because it can be an individual mason up until the biggest company in Kenya that has like 140 staff. So it's really like the picture it's hard to get, but there are companies, and yeah, let's say 40 to 50 of them are registered, and then there's a lot of people doing things a bit on the side. So it's hard to target those ones. So I think with 40 we have a good picture of the biodigester companies in Kenya. So a few statistics maybe that are of interest. So in average film age is like 10 years. So yeah, I will not make a full history of biogas in Kenya, but it's kind of starting to be an old story already. So it started in 2005 with GIZ program, and then from 2008 to 2019 there was a very strong program called the Kenya Biogas program, and now this program is called ABC. So it's kind of, so people would see it's a continuation of this program. I said more than 500 people are within the sector, let's say. So it's relatively small, whereas 20,000 biodigesters have been built so far. Of course, there's a lot of people without contract, so it's an issue. And as you can see, in terms of gender statistics, it's really male dominated, and the majority of the female are in admin or finance and support staff. So that's really an area where we need to work, and we need to progress for the whole sector, and that's what we will do with Energia and also some of the leading companies that are really transforming the market and the mindset also. Another interesting part is, of course, I think, yeah, COVID has hit everyone in the sector. So 82% of the companies have reduced their workforce. And also in terms of sale, we've seen a strong decrease in terms of sales. So, I mean, it's a bit like the chicken and egg situation, because the last biogas support program stopped in 2019. So in 2020, 2021, there was no kind of support. And on top of that, there was the COVID pandemic. So it's hard to see how to link which impact to which issues. The main issue that the companies have is of course the lack of working capital, still the lack of technical skills, and issues with marketing, awareness creation. So to create the demand and to have new clients. So these are the main issues that they are facing. Other interesting point is the 70% of the companies use social media for their marketing, and mostly Facebook. So all the companies are present on Facebook, and there's a very lively community on Facebook. We have an annual turnover of 23 million euro per year. Again, not all of the companies they told us their turnover. So as you see, it's like only half of the companies who participated to the inventory give us this figure, but it's a sector. It's present there, and of course the majority of the payments for the biodigesters are made in installments. So people would pay every 3 months, every 4 months, over a period of 2 years, or 3 to 4 installments, and this represents 60% of the sales. And the rest, like let's say 30%, is direct down payment, and then 10% on credits through. So one of the banks is like 2-3 banks are offering credits for energy access products, including biodigesters. An interesting indicator is also the companies that told us on the portfolio at risk of default. So they estimate that 10% of their portfolio, sorry, is at risk of default, which is it's still fine. It's still yeah, it's still something we can work on. And then yeah, just to give you a bit of glimpse of where they are, where these biodigesters being situated in Kenya. So it's mostly in the southern parts, because it's really linked to the dairy cow density. So what you can see on the left is what we call the best performing counties, and on the right the worst performing counties. And in the center, it's another work that has been done by FAO, showing the cow density in Kenya. So there is a very strong relationship between dairy cow and biodigestion, in the sense that most farmers with dairy cows, there's 3 to 5 cows in small stables, and that's the perfect thing for biodigesters, because they have the manure. They also have sometimes a small plot where they can use the manure, and they also they have regular income, in the sense that they collect the milk every day, and they sell it to the cooperatives, and then they have regular revenues. So for the biodigester companies, it's really these are the main clients. So the main clients are in livestock, so being dairy cow. Now slowly moving a bit into the pig industry, and also the poultry industry. And of course the poultry industry is a bit special, especially for biogas. And yeah, I think that's it for me. And again, really happy to hear your question, remarks, and where we can improve. And yeah, I think it was one of the main parts we need to improve is really to kind of shift from the biodigester equal biogas to biodigester equal biogas, and also the biodigesters especially for the small scale farmer. So back to you, Michaela. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Florent. Indeed, there are a lot of inputs that you put on the table that are very much giving us a lot of food for thoughts. I already included a question in the chat, and also connect to what are you doing with the training also of women that are normally in the admin part of the picture. I mean, it's there, of course, where you also mentioned that it's important to to go there and stimulate more training and more action for changes. But now it's my pleasure to give the floor to Constance Connie to moderate a Q&A. Connie, over to you. I see there are a lot of, a couple of questions, and more to come. So for participants, don't be shy. Insert your questions in the chat box. Over to Connie.
Thanks very much, Michaela, and thank you very much to our two speakers as well. I mean, even if people didn't put questions in the chat, I think I have a whole page of questions for you both. And also, I think there's a lot of things that we can discuss on comparisons, but also similarities between what you both presented today. So I'll just quickly go into the chat first and pick out some of these specific questions, and then maybe we can discuss some of those more general points afterwards. But let me quickly go into the chat first. So I see there's a first question, which I think is for Edwin, regarding cost savings to do with digestate. It says, does this take into consideration yield differences for agave under different fertilizer methods? Do you observe these differences in yield?
Okay, well, that's an interesting question. What we did to estimate the cost savings when using digestate in agave was to consider the fulfillment of the plant nutrition requirements compared with a commercial solution, Steiner. It is very difficult to evaluate in agave the effect of the fertilizer throughout the time, because the whole lifetime of the plantation is about 12 years in average. So you have to wait 12 years to harvest the plant. It is very difficult, although it has been proven that when using fertilizer, commercial fertilizer in agave, it was made a research in Jalisco, and they found that when using commercial fertilizer in agave throughout 8 years, the production of sugars and the amount of plant harvested duplicated when not using fertilizer. So what we are proposing here is to replace these commercial fertilizers, and it is very important in these days where the fertilizer crisis is running throughout the world. So that is the.
Thanks very much, Edwin. I think we lost you a second towards the end, but I think we got everything. It's just a little bit of a loss of connection there. Thanks very much. I think that really answers the question regarding the cost savings there. I see another question here in the chat. Question for both Florent and Edwin. In our limited experience in Zimbabwe for very localized local production for local consumption biodigester, transport cost of the manure and the end product was surprisingly high. Should biodigesters be strategically located in more densely populated communities for lowering operational costs? I wonder whether you want to both answer that question based on your experiences in the different countries. Maybe Florent, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start, and yeah, I can start, no problem. Yes, I mean, the short answer, yes. I mean, manure is it's a byproduct, so like transporting things that don't have value, it's always problematic. So it's really, you need to see the value of the product and of the process. So yes, I think it should be localized in areas with important and high quality feedstock, and also with access to water, because that's the also a limiting parameter most of the time. And yeah, if you see the last slide, that's the last slide that I showed. That's where you have the highest density, and like dairy cow is the thing, because even like with cows for meat production, usually they go in the field and you don't need to milk them every day, whereas cows in stables is the most interesting feedstock, I would say.
Yeah, so your answer is yes, and also water, which I thought actually when Edwin was presenting and his videos, it looked very dry. So I wonder whether, Edwin, you'd also like to comment on water availability as well in terms of Vinyasa.
Yes, I would like to comment that if we observe the diffusion of technology model, we have to take into consideration the complexity of the technology and the compatibility with the conditions of the users. For example, if you have the manure far from the digester, is going to be more complex. And also, if you have not water available for the mix of waste and water to put into the digester, it is going to be complex for the users to implement. In the case of the mezcal production system, although you saw the environment very dry, it is an activity that takes water beneath the soil, beneath the earth, and is used for the production process itself. But so we are using this water that has been already polluted by the wastes and use it for the digester feeding.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually, that that way you're in some way even improving the availability of water and by treating it using the biodigester. So very good point there. Michele, I see you have your hand up. There was another hand in the participants, but if yours is specifically related to this, maybe you want to go first.
Yeah, please, because it's very much connected to the question that was put into the chat by Kim Donga, and then the replies, and an example, a case studies that we developed as FAO in a project in Vietnam, connected the implementation of the GBEP indicators of the biogas value chain in the country, in Vietnam. In that case, what happened, it was biogas from pig manure. And what happened there was a lack of trainings for, jobs, workers, in the sense that in that case, they tended to put too much water into the digester, which ended up having a digestate which was too watered, and therefore extremely difficult and less efficient, extremely difficult to be transported in the soil in order to be used as a nutrient, and at the same time very difficult, very lower in terms of efficiency also for biogas production. So a very not a win-win in terms of efficiency and in terms of a bio nutrient, digestate use as a nutrient, because of water of an incorrect water use into the digestate. So it means in that case, for example, training was for workers in the sector was was indicated to be extremely essential. Also because in that case, for example, they were not able also to repair some leaks into the digestate, so that biogas was just left going into cracks, into the digestate, so that biogas was left into the air and therefore wasted. So, you know, in that case, training was very much considered to be extremely important, connected to the water use and the digestate management. So just to share this experience from the GBEP side, specifically in Vietnam.
Thanks very much, Michele. Yeah, I think it's really, the training is obviously an extremely important part. And obviously also Florent mentioned that was a big component in his project. I wanted to do a kind of, I wanted to ask you both a question regarding associated to trainings, but mostly associated with incentives, because Edwin, you didn't really talk about any incentives in Mexico for the production of biogas, as I understand, whereas Florent, your project is primarily focused on incentivizing the market. So I wonder what your thoughts are on long-term sustainability of these incentives after the project ends for Florent. But Edwin, if you have any thoughts on what could be the most sustainable incentives to incentivize the sector in Mexico as well, that would be really interesting.
We're starting.
Okay.
Whoever, whichever. I was going to leave it free. I picked on you first, Florent, last time, so I thought I'd let whichever one wanted to go first.
Okay. There are some incentives in the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Mexico. There are some institutions that are helping and training some startups for going through green jobs consecutions. For example, in the case of Archaea, we got some financial support for buying equipment, materials, and for gaining training, especially for marketing, social media management, and that was the way we started. In the case of the users or the farmers, we have to be articulated to the value chains of these different production systems. In the case of mezcal, there are some incentives. Right now, there are some projects that are running in order to make this activity more sustainable. So for the time being, specifically for biogas digester implementation, there aren't incentives, but we have to look for it.
Yeah, I will first answer one of the question in the chat from Michaela on how to make sure you have like more and more formal workers. So because that's kind of linked to the incentive. So the RBF, I mean, the companies, they want to work with us because we provide incentives to develop their business. So we'll do like training on formality, informality of the workers. We also, they will get gender training directly on the job. So the one that will be selected for the RBF. And then, yeah, the big question on the incentive and kind of exit strategy. So, I mean, what we can say is that there was already incentives in past biogas program in Kenya, and they have been diminished already. So I think the incentives was around like 150 euro per biodigester. Now we propose 100 and down to 75. So there is a point where the market should sustain itself. So without development program, of course. So that's one of the points that the donors are trying to make, especially with this project. One thing that we see so they need to have, so the companies need to have enough sales per month, per year to sustain their business. So they've tried to identify this point. Also the BDS support will also help them to reach this critical point. And one aspect also of the project that I did not really talk about it is the voluntary carbon credit market. So some companies are acting as aggregator and they get voluntary credit carbon. That could help to also sustain their business model over the long term. So, I mean, these are a few solutions that will, I mean, the carbon market is already existing, so we just need to push the companies to use it and also to develop their revenues. But I think what is critical is to know at which point they as a company are reaching a more stable position. So I think one or two have reached this point in Kenya, but not all of them. And there is a huge market potential in terms of farmers, in terms of livestock being present. So it's for them to develop their marketing strategy, I think.
Thanks a lot, Florent. Yeah,
I would like to comment something else about these incentives that must be taken into account. It is important to, yes, incentivize the diffusion of technology, because in diffusion of innovations, there is the paradox of innovations. It means that those who need more the innovation face more obstacles. So it is important to help people in the financial aspects. For example, especially small-scale biogas digesters, because in this sector, people face the lack of financial credit and the lack of training and educational access. But we have to take into account that we cannot give 100% the technology to the users, because it's being demonstrated that when users don't participate in the cost cost of the technology, they abandon it. So this is very another thing that I want to propose, and I'm proposing in my work on field, is if we want to make this biogas technology diffusion sustainable, we could focus on training the farmers that are already using the biogas technology in order for them to become technicians in their community. And that is a very important incentive, because they're going to see in this activity another job opportunity, not just using the biogas, but becoming an important actor in their community and helping their community fellows.
Thanks so much, Edwin. Yeah, that's a really important point also in terms of, obviously, the subject of this webinar on green jobs is to understand how we can be creating these kinds of extra opportunities for farmers. I mean, obviously the availability of feedstock is there. You mentioned 80% of the vinasse is just left untreated, and in the same in Kenya, the manure is not valued. So obviously the feedstock is there. We have the technology is there as well, and it's just overcoming these barriers, as you said, about training and awareness raising, and also in terms of incentives. There's just one more specific question in the chat that was for Florent, which I'd like to get to just before we finish. Two questions, sorry, Florent. One more just came up. There's one on biogas distribution and the distribution modalities in terms of biogas bags being used to compensate absence of a distribution grid, and whether they are safe enough. I wonder whether that could also be a question for Edwin, because I saw that they also use the bags. So if there's we could also look at a comparison there between the two. And a similar question from Josie as well, Josie Thomas, who asks about how bottling biogas for domestic users. So all about logistics there. So Florent, would you like to take those questions?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, the distribution modality, I think, is for a company to be present in the different counties of Kenya, and of course to identify the counties where they have the most potential. So as you can see in I'm repeating myself on the map, where you have the highest density of dairy cows, but also some other markets are existing outside of, we have one county is called the Kiambu County, really close to Nairobi, and that's the biogas county. That's where most of the biodigesters are present in Kenya. In terms of the technology, I think there was a big shift in Kenya in 2018 when the prefabricated biodigesters were introduced. So before, it was like a fixed dome concrete biodigester, and in 2018, again, a Mexican company started with the past project, so a biogas support project, and really changed the narrative around prefabricated biodigesters, because they are easier to install. They work a bit better when you have access to water, and for this small use, like in the kitchen and so on, they tend to work better because you have some pressure issues that I mean, so the concrete one have higher pressure, but you don't really need this higher pressure for gas in your own kitchen, and they're also cheaper. So that's all the advantages of the prefabricated biodigesters. So I think for the same capacity, the prefabricated biodigesters, they cost 80,000 Kenyan shilling, whereas the same capacity concrete would be 110,000 Kenyan shilling. So just to give you an idea of the price. And now, of course, the price of materials is increasing. We haven't seen yet an impact on the import cost, because these biodigesters, as I said, they are imported mostly from India and China, and now the cost of logistics are increasing for many reasons, but we haven't seen yet the impact of this on the price. And I think in terms of safety, yes, they are safe enough. There's just there was one company provided prefabricated biodigesters that was not of good quality, and now this company is out of the market, but the biodigesters are still there and not really working. So this company is giving a lot of bad reputation to the sector itself. So that's a small issue, but in terms of safety, no, it's very safe. No, not so much issues on this part.
Thanks, Florent. I wonder whether, Edwin, you'd like to also comment on how the biogas is used and distributed in Mexico, whether it's bottled or using it. I saw that in the video you had the bags of the biogas, so I assume that's...
Yes. First we have to remember that biogas technology is an alternative, first for waste management, and second, biogas production and fertilizer. Sometimes we forget that this technology is proposed for autonomy in local communities, in autonomy in situ, for production energy in situ. So there is a lot of interest, especially from urban areas, to use this biogas, and they say I can use the manure, but if you have to transport the manure or the biogas, it is going to be more complex to use. But regarding to the use of bags, flexible 40 liters bag manufactured by us, and it lasted one. So you have to, and you can obtain 2 bags or 3 bags per day from a 5 meter cubics biodigester, and that gives you an idea how much or how large you have to have the digester. Is it safe? It is another question. Is it safe? Yes, it is safe, because in the case of flexible bags for transporting biogas, you can use a flame catcher. It is just a bottle with water in which you put the outlet of the gas that comes from the bag and connect another pipe going to the kitchen. And in the field, when you have the digester working, there always is a security valve installed that is the same system, so it is safe to use, but you have to give maintenance for always keeping water in the bottle.
Thank you very much, Edwin. I see, Florent, you have your hand raised. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think I forget the last part of the question of Daniele. And yeah, I think the flame catcher, we can see it in the background of Edwin. I think we can see it on some sort. So the biogas is mostly used for so in Kenya is mostly used for cooking at home. So it does not really impact electricity. So it's mostly used by people who have a few cows, and it's a shift from using wood fuel or charcoal to biogas with their cows. And in terms of electricity, I mean, people will it doesn't make sense. I mean, it's too expensive from these small systems to produce electricity, and solar is way cheaper. So for your own house, like, people would have solar home system, and that's how it will work. Maybe just I will take also the last question on the bottling biogas. So there are technology that there are a few companies in Kenya that are testing bottling, mostly in big like can or bottles in metal. But it's not there yet. And then in terms of electricity production, there is I think it's 2.2 megawatt biodigester that is finally providing providing electricity to the Kenyan grid. So it's in Naivasha, so equatorial power. So there are these things that are happening here and there, and we'd be happy to support the medium scale. Or I mean, these are kind of very large scale projects, and it's a bit out of the scope of our projects, but there are things, and we would be happy to support them as much as possible. But yeah, some are a bit out of our context.
Thanks very much, Florent and Edwin. We've got slightly unmuted. Can you hear me? Oh, okay, good. Thank you so much, both of you. We've gone slightly over time, but because there's been so many interesting questions and a very interesting discussion. So thank you both, and thank you to all the attendees for staying with us for a little bit longer for today's webinar. So I would just like to close with one, if you'd both like to make one final comment on what you think in your context best facilitates entrepreneurship and green jobs in the specific area where you're working. So just a very short, just one last comment before we end. Let's go with Edwin first. I pick on you.
Okay, thank you. I think that one important strategy is to create green jobs, and using biogas as a tool for it is focusing the intervention programs and also the work of universities in transferring knowledge to the communities, the knowledge training the farmers in order for them to be the entrepreneurs for creating their own jobs. So in the mean that they have their knowledge and they develop skills for not only manufacturing the digesters, but for understanding the functioning of it, it will be easier for the diffusion of this technology, and it will be a very important incentive.
Florent, like to...
Yeah, thank you. No, that's a difficult question. So I think where we are in Kenya, it's to improve decent jobs and to support to the sector to kind of move it. So it used to be a very informal sector. Now it's more formal, where you have companies that are registered. So okay, some of them are paying taxes, some are not. Some of them have contracts with their staff, some don't have, and I think Edwin pointed out pretty well is also, of course, to work with the universities also at some point, and technical institutes, but also all these business incubators to have more decent jobs and to have jobs that are very specific. And for instance, I think in the biogas sector, I think the one aspect that needs a lot of work is to, of course, to work on all the co-products from the biodigestion. So of course fertilizer, but then to go to other products for the time being. I think that's the way to make the green job more decent, I think.
Thanks so much to both of you. It seems like that you've converged quite nicely there on similar ways to facilitate green jobs and entrepreneurship in the sector in the different countries, specifically looking at training and including research institutions and awareness raising there, and creating those skilled jobs, skilled formal jobs. So again, I'd like to thank you both for being with us today, and thank you to the attendees. The presentations from our speakers, as well as the recording, will be available after the webinar. We'll send an email around to all registered participants, so you'll receive those. And I look forward to seeing you in another GBEP webinar soon. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye
you
so
Bye-bye.
much.